So, by the way, this might make it on the pod. So, I had like two openings planned. This was my hat that I was gonna wear until Maxi hit the shot to send us to overtime, and then we won the game. So, just like what do you call it, signing day, and I had to change my hat. I was ready to move on to baseball season, Coach.
I'm glad you took that.
Oh, I forgot. You're still recovering from your loss last night. Sorry.
Oh, we good, man. I done moved on from that, man. I was just watching my Seattle. My Braves are playing the Seattle Mariners right now. So,
Oh, you moved on to baseball.
I mean, hey, I moved on to baseball on opening day, man. We got two TV. We got a two TV set up in our living room. So, I got my
All right.
Lakers on one channel. I got my Lakers on one TV. I got my Braves on the other TV. So, we
Well,
good,
now
man.
you'll just have your Braves on both TVs. So
No, I have my Braves and my Bucks now because the Bucks are gonna come right up under that. So, hey, those two TVs are always occupied,
all
man.
right, we're on. Hello and welcome to another episode of the 3-on-3 Hoops Pod. And on today's show, we are going to be breaking down 3 specific skills you instantly develop when playing 3-on-3 basketball. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kevin Roberts, and I'm joined by the one and only Coach Jay, founder of Score Hoops 3-on-3 basketball out there in Phoenix, Arizona. Coach, how are you doing? How are things there in the West Coast today?
It's good, man. It's real West Coasty. It's real spring/summertime out here in Phoenix, man. It's in the high 90s, so it's getting hot.
Oh, yeah. So I actually had 2 intros prepared. Our viewing audience can see that I'm kind of celebrating a win that just happened tonight with the Sixers over the New York Knicks. That was a huge win for us, so I'm very excited about that. I was prepared to wear Phillies hat earlier, but so I know.
I'm glad Philadelphia 76ers won, man.
So anyway, so you had you started your league this past weekend. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, man, it was real legit, man. Real fun. Our first week of games. It was the first week in general, but like I mentioned before, we added a little caveat. This league season where we have midweek skills trainings, but this past Saturday was our first week of games, and turned out pretty good, man. Turned out pretty good. I'm looking forward to this Saturday to see if any of the teams made any adjustments or if they've been running any pick and rolls. That's just a little sneak peek of what we're going to talk about. But yeah, man, looking forward to week 2 coming up, man.
By the way, I love your team names that you have.
Oh yeah,
those are very creative.
Yeah, man, I had to. Me and my wife, we spent like the day maybe not the day before, but maybe like a couple days before, trying to make some creative
I like
3v3 team names.
I like the 3-bound. 3-bound is one of my favorites.
Yeah, 3-bound. That's the one she came up with, so that's cool, man. 3-bound.
Yeah, I like it.
So we try to make it a little bit quirky, a little bit. We want to keep the 3. We want to keep the 3 theme involved. So
Three's Company, Treyway, Triple Threat. I love all the names.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool. All right, so if you want to learn more about Score Hoops 3-on-3 basketball, just go to scorehoops3on3.com. As for myself, I also run a youth basketball program out here in Tampa, Florida called 3-on-3 Live. And I want to quickly mention that our summer league registration is open. So we are in the midst of taking registrations. This is for grades 2 or grade 2nd through 12th grade. All games are on Sundays. The league starts June 23rd. Go to 3on3live.com for more details on that. So, Coach.
Yes, sir.
We are going to talk about 3 specific skills that from 3-on-3 basketball. But first, I do want to let everyone know that we are available on all listening platforms now, Spotify. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you can listen to us also while you're cutting the grass or, taking a jog or on the treadmill, in the car on the way to
driving
work.
a freeway to work.
Exactly. So
Oh, jinx.
that's when I listen to most of my podcasts. So we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you listen already, you can watch us on our YouTube page. So Coach and I are both very passionate about our 3-on-3 basketball programs, and we're passionate about 3-on-3 basketball period and all the benefits that it can have on young basketball players. We love coaching kids. We love watching them get better, not only in basketball but also in life. And we love seeing kids have fun playing and falling in love, hopefully, with a sport that has been a big part of our lives, and it's very near and dear to our hearts. And Coach and I we just both love basketball, and we're both big fans of the game, even though one of our teams are better than the other. But, I know my team's still playing. That's all I want to say.
That doesn't mean that they're better. They just got a better matchup.
Well, towards the end of the season, we'll give our thoughts on the NBA playoffs. So, towards the end of this episode, but let's go ahead and focus on our main topic, and that is 3 specific skills you instantly develop when playing 3-on-3 basketball. And Coach, skill number 1 is perfecting one of the oldest plays in basketball, the pick and roll. So
Stockton and Malone, man, that's our generation, right?
That's our generation. Yeah, I don't know if anyone here knows Stockton and Malone is, but I don't know who would be the.
Hey, well, after they finish watching our show on YouTube, they can go YouTube Stockton and Malone.
I will definitely have a video of Stockton and Malone when we're describing our pick and roll. But Coach, what is the fundamental role of pick and roll, and what makes pick and roll so effective in basketball?
I kind of feel like it depends on who you're asking. I think the more important role in the pick and roll is actually the dribbler, right? Because you have to be able to time things perfectly. One thing that a lot of the young, especially the younger guys and younger kids, one of the flaws they mix up with the pick and roll is starting it too early. Well, as far as the ball handler goes, right? One thing that I really, really, really try to harp on with the ball handler is making sure that the pick is set before you dribble around it, because offensive fouls occur when it's not. Like I mentioned, a lot of the younger guys, they see the pick coming and then they try to go and attack the pick at the same time. The picker or the screener runs into the, and a foul occurs. So just getting it, just the timing. I think the timing is the most important part of it. The ball handler knowing when to call it, seeing when it's set and knowing exactly when to go around it, and then just making a play once you get there. Either you get to the basket, you dump off, or you can get to the middle of the key and then look for that floater. That's the 3 options that I tell my ball handler to look for when they're using pick and roll.
So I just want to explain because I know for a fact now that we have some grade school coaches or dads who coach their kids, or even some young players listening to this podcast. Just to explain the pick and roll, I'll do my best to explain for the listening audience. The viewing audience on YouTube will see a video, of Stockton and Malone, or other examples of pick and rolls on the YouTube channel while I'm explaining this. But when running a pick and roll, offensive player, we'll call them, all the offensive players are O, and the defense players are X. So O1 is the primary ball handler, and his teammates are O2 and O3, each being guarded by player X of the same number. So X1 guarding O1, X2 guarding O2, X3 guarding O3. So if O1 has the ball at the top of the key, which is the middle of the floor right above the arc, O2 will be our screener. O2 sets a screen on X1. This causes the defense to have to make a decision. Does X2 switch to now guard O1? So now you're dealing with a possible mismatch, either with a quicker player being guarded by a slower player, or a smaller defender being guarded by a bigger offensive player, or guarding a bigger offensive player, usually in the post, or does X1 fight through the screen? But if the screen is a good screen, that is, this causes an advantage for 0-1 to get to the basket easily. So then you have 0-3, being guarded by X3 spaced out, usually somewhere in the corner. Again, if 0-1 is having that easy path to the basket because the screen was set, X3 has to now make a decision on whether or not to leave his man or help guard the basket. If he goes to help, that leaves 0-3 open with an easy shot in the corner. Or if he doesn't help, he's relying on X1 to catch up to 0-1 and make that defensive play.
And there is nothing more basic and yet nothing executed any closer to perfection than the Utah Jazz pick and roll.
Buck in the clock. Now Malone screen. Stockton to Malone to the hoop. Hammered up.
Are they going to advance through the pain of defeat they felt the last 2 years?
Malone from Stockton, an oft-repeated phrase.
Stockton beautifully to Malone.
Hope that was clear for the listening audience. I tried to do my best to explain it without diagrams. By the way, I did see your.
I understood.
Okay, I know you because you're a coach. But I did see your just not to get too far off topic, but I did see some diagram plays you made, some videos you made on Score Hoops on the Score Hoops YouTube page.
I'm going to get back to doing that,
Coach. That was awesome.
I'm going to get back to doing that.
I want everyone to go check out Score Hoops on YouTube. Coach draws up some very helpful, basic but very effective plays on his chalkboard. You can get a inside look of Coach's mind, but I just thought that was cool to see. But just to get back on track, so you see the responsibilities of the ball handler when executing the pick and roll, making the correct reads, depending against what the defense is deciding to do. So just, Coach, go ahead and explain what's the important thing. Like you talked about the important thing of setting a proper screen. Like, how do you teach a screen?
How I teach my guys to do a screen, especially my bigger guys that may not be as athletic as the guards or whatever, is just getting to their landmark. Right. This is the verbiage that I use. Getting to their landmark, anchoring down and setting up, creating a wide base, right, so that the guy that they're screening can't get over it. Under it. Or if they try to go under it, they have to go a far way around it to where if our ball handler is a shooter, he gets around the screen and then there's enough open space where he can even shoot a jumper. The ball handler is the most important guy because he is the one that's making the play. He has the ball in his hands, right? Mm-hmm. So he has those options. All right, guy sets the screen, boom, screen is good. He gets around it. Screener rolls to the basket. If we have, like you mentioned earlier, if the guy who's guarding 0-2 in this instance is a little bit slow to the play, getting up to the action of the screen, and he's rolling to the basket and slips to the basket, we have that entry pass to our 0-2 right at the basket, and he lays it up, right? That's really where you want to go, right? That's option one. Mm-hmm. At least in my playbook, that's option one. Option two is if that screen is clear and the guy who's guarding that ball handler is just completely eclipsed out of the whole situation, my guard is instructed just to get all the way to the basket and lay it in. And then that guy with the ball, what you mentioned again just briefly, if that corner guy, if his defender collapses on him, right, now you have that open kick to the corner for a three, right? Or if you one of those guys you get deep enough to where, I can just get this floater up and over whatever defenders are in the way, you can do so. So there's many options on the pick and roll. You just got to have your best ball handler, most of the times at least, your best ball handler coming off the screen. And not only is he the best ball handler, he's concurrently the best decision maker on the floor, because you want him to make the right play every single time, especially if it's in crunch time of a game, right? Last 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, when those possessions are very, very, very important, you want a guy with the ball in his hand that you trust is going to make the right decision.
Correct. And that, like you said, making the reads. And I like what you said earlier about one of the biggest mistakes when talking about the pick and roll that players make is not waiting for the screen. The ball handler is not waiting for the screen or moving too fast, causing an offensive foul, or not allowing the screen to come and making the screen as effective. They go too quickly.
Yeah.
So I make sure to coach that also. What's the 3-on-3 advantage? So we talked about the pick and roll, and you really just talked about one aspect of the pick and roll, which is the basic pick and roll. We didn't even talk about the pick and pop or the pick and the slip. So like there are many facets of pick and roll, which is again one of my favorite things to teach, and it's one of the oldest plays of basketball outside of the give and go. But so when you're talking about 3-on-3, what's the 3-on-3 advantage of pick and roll?
I mean, just it's less defenders on the floor, right? And then there's just the spacing. It's the spacing and the speed, right? That's the biggest advantage of 3-on-3 for me is if you have even a big guy that's coming to set the screen, if he's quick enough to set the screen and then slip to the basket, that's what I say church's money right there. You get what I'm saying? It's just
I like that.
It's automatic. So just running the pick and roll in 3-on-3, I think should be. It's just like, and I'm going to go to football because this is just kind of like if we do get some football guys listening, it's just like day one of football practice, just the handoff up the middle.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty
very fundamental.
It's the same thing, right? Yeah, very, very, very fundamental, and it should be run before you even get the 5-on-5 out there. It should be run on threes, right? So then that way you get to see those options. You get to the basket, you dump it off, you got the kick to the corner if it's there, or you have the floater, right? If you teach it in the 3-on-3 game and then have guys run it in the 3-on-3 setting, and then they get that repetition and then they see how things work, when you get on the 5-on-5 game, it's just hit the ground running.
Yep.
Because you already know what your options are. When you try to get the guys out there doing it against fives right away, they're a little bit slower because they're thinking, because it's a little bit more clogged.
Yep.
Oh, dang, maybe I should have passed that when I took it to the basket. Or maybe I should have took it to the basket when I should have passed it. When it's 3-on-3 and it's more space and there's less people out there, like, you're going to see it. Right? You're going to see it because it's there. It's glaring. So that's just the benefit right there of running it in 3-on-3. You get to see the options very, very, very cleanly.
And you know why that is? When you really break it down, the pick and roll, you might just think it's a 2-man game, but really the pick and roll is a 3-man play. I mean, coach just went through all the options that the ball handler has to make. He's either keeping it, going to the basket, passing it to the mismatch with the screener, rolling to the basket, or popping out if you're doing a pick and pop, or kicking it to that third player out on the wing if that defender tries help. So it is a 3-man game. Yep. And if you watch any NBA game or even college basketball, any team that runs a lot of pick and rolls, you'll see that they're doing one of those 3 options. It's either take it to the basket, kicking it to the screener, or kicking it to a wide open shooter. So that's the advantage of playing 3-on-3 and running the pick and roll, because you're running it all the time, and you have those 3 players for those 3
and
options.
it's there every time, man. It's there every time. Like, you have one of those 4 options available for you every time.
Yep.
And when I say 4 options, that I don't want whoever's listening or whoever's watching to think that you're only limited to 4 options.
Oh no,
because there's even more.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, there's even more.
We actually might,
because there's times when the defense might catch up to it. So now what do you do?
We actually ran.
You have to move. So
we ran a pick and roll clinic actually at one of our practices. We
like
ran. We had a great coach teach our kids all the options of pick and roll. And so the reason why pick and roll works, especially in 3-on-3, is actually leads us into our number 2 skill, and it's and remember we're talking about specific skills you instantly develop when playing 3-on-3 basketball. But the number 2 skill is learning how to balance the floor and create better spacing. And coach, I think this is probably one of my favorite things to coach and I also think it's one of the most under-taught skill in basketball, and that's
Spacing.
Spacing, creating floor balance, and it's something that's so easy to learn, especially when playing 3-on-3 basketball. So I'll let you explain the concept of floor balance and spacing.
Floor balance and spacing. So balance is you have a ball handler. He's coming up. He's at the top of the key. You have a guy at the wing or corner on your left side. You have a guy at the wing or corner on the right side. That's like perfect balance, right? You have a guy in the middle. You have a guy on the right. You have a guy on the left. Now, that's not the only way to balance and space the floor. You can take that guy in the top of the key and that guy that's on that wing, and you can move them over, both on the left side. But that guy on the right side, he doesn't need to come over there because now you're not balanced and you're not spaced unless you're running a triangle, which I kind of really wouldn't suggest to do in 3-on-3. Can you do it? Yes, right? You can, right? If you're trying to prove something or you just want to run your sets and just like practice things, I wouldn't suggest it. However, that's balance, that's spacing. You have two guys on one side, you have one guy on the opposite side, right? So now, and this is, I don't want to get too technical or anything like that.
I love this talk.
You can go from wing to corner, right? And then you can go from the slot to the low post. And if you do that, you have this guy on the opposite side. He needs to slide around over to the top of the key so he can be seen, right, in case someone gets trapped, right? So balance and spacing is just that, being able to create the necessary avenues to pass the ball to get the defense out of position.
Do you have a certain way that you like to teach players about spacing? You mentioned like putting players in certain spots. Is that like the main way you teach?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the way I teach it. So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say a lot of young players, they're watching the NBA and they're watching a lot of highlights and stuff. And when they're watching a game, I want you guys to look at a game and watch where the players set up on their offensive sets. It's very intentional where they stand. And I know, NBA players are, NBA is probably not the best example with some teams because I'm thinking of teams right now that don't have good spacing, but they have superior athletes. So I challenge you to watch they
can make up for it.
Yeah. So I challenge you to watch a college game. When
women's college basketball would probably be the best.
Yes. Watch a women's college basketball game and that's probably why I enjoy watching it so much. But however they set up on offense, it's very intentional where they stand. So when you're talking about a basic offense, like a 5-out offense, which is something that I used to teach, I had my players stand maybe 3 feet, even 4 feet away from the 3-point line. Right. And so I would make sure that they're standing in one of these 5 spots, and that's the top of the key, the 2 wings, which are free throw line extended, or the 2 corners.
And the 2 corners.
So those are only, so nobody's in between the corner and the wing. I would put X's on the court and make sure the players stand there. And so, I used to tell my players we use the 3-point line as a read line. And so if the defender is one pass away, if the ball's on top and then the person on the wing is one pass away, if the defender is 1 foot above that read line or steps across the read line, the 3-point line, that's an automatic basketball.
The back cut available.
Yep, and that's a way to create space, backdoor cuts. So teaching your kid or your player to how to backdoor cut, is a way to create space. And the reason why you create space, the reason why you want to create space is to create that passing lane, or just have more space to drive to the basket. So,
or another way to even create space and balance the floor, and this is a very underlooked skill as well, Kev, is off the ball screens.
Yes, correct.
Off the ball screens, especially in 3-on-3, like since it's not that many people on the floor, like off the ball screens and back cuts and pick and rolls, pretty much everything we're talking about here, they're available at your disposal at any given moment.
So when you just think about teams that have great spacing, like the first team for me that comes to mind are,
Golden State
I was going to
Warriors.
say Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors. You can even throw Dallas Mavericks in there this year. And I think Kyrie and Luka have a big part to do when you have 2 point guards essentially.
Also had good spacing, and then I'm gonna test your basketball knowledge and wisdom on this one. Remember when not Dallas, but Orlando Magic had Dwight Howard, and they had the 4
those
out
shooters,
the 4
mm-hmm.
out, and the one, that was good spacing
had,
always too.
Let's
because
see.
you always had the center.
That was,
you had one guy, and then you had 4 shooters.
That was J.J. Redick,
Jameer Nelson,
my boy Jameer Nelson from Philly.
J.J. Redick,
Michael Petrus,
Rashad Lewis,
Hito Turkoglu.
We're
gonna have a show, dude. We're gonna have a show talking about great teams that never won it. Not saying that Orlando Magic was a great team, but they did make it to the finals. That was a
and they got blew out by my Los Angeles Lakers. So
I know you just want to bring
that four out
the
one
whole
didn't work against us.
the whole point of that was for you to bring your Lakers up. All right, UConn, who just won the men's.
I find out a way to sneak it in there any way I can, man.
The men's national championship was won by UConn, and they had great spacing. If you watch them play.
And they have a hell of a coach also.
Oh yeah,
but I guess the coach is the one that teaches spacing, right?
Yeah, Hurley. So I mean,
that was Jay Wright. Jay Wright was their coach beforehand, though.
No. Jay Wright was Villanova.
My bad. I'm getting the 2 Big East teams.
No.
Somebody's gonna want to fight me who is a Villanova fan or UConn fan. They're gonna want to fight me.
Stick to your Lakers. Maybe I'll edit that out.
No, they put it in there. I'm
gonna put it in there. I'm
gonna put it in. I went to Cal State Fullerton, so I'm a Big West guy. We don't do Big East, we do Big West, but that's a whole different story.
All right, so when you're talking about the 3-on-3 advantage of creating space, again with the less players on the court, I think it even shows even more importance of spacing on the court.
Spacing.
Yeah, and so you mentioned in the past podcast how players are accountable for creating that space. Like you can't be too close to the ball handler. You know what? I was actually watching some clips from your games, or some of your videos, and just watching clips online. My league, my past leagues, and some other 3-on-3 leagues, and I noticed that kids just naturally
chase the ball.
Yeah. So
Oh Lord!
So
don't get me started on that. It's like nails on a chalkboard, bro.
So, but also you see kids naturally. They do chase the ball, but they also naturally. They cut to the basket. So they don't really know it yet, but they are creating space by making that backdoor cut to the basket. And so that does create space for the ball handler because you're not bringing an extra defender to him. And so one of my pet peeves as a coach is when the player up top with the basketball is looking for someone to pass to, say he doesn't have his dribble, and someone will come to him. Like I totally coach against that.
I see that on a daily basis.
And I don't want that player, that the player who's away, I don't want them to bring their defender. Now you're creating more pressure on the ball handler. I just cut to the basket. And
now you're playing rugby instead of basketball.
Correct.
That's what I tell my guys.
Yeah.
So we're playing basketball. We're not playing rugby. We don't want to be in the scrum, right? We want to space it out.
Yeah, so 3-on-3, you see, more space more often, and it does encourage ball movement, by the way. So that brings us to our third and final skill that you instantly develop when playing 3-on-3 basketball, and that's becoming a better team defender. And I don't know about you, Coach, but defense is probably one of my favorite things to coach. And I will say, I'm gonna just come up right out and say it. The reason why I love 3-on-3 basketball is that you can't really play zone in 3-on-3 basketball.
Man, let me tell you something. You are 1,000% right about that. We had in our league last year, and I kind of felt bad for the guys. We had one team that was just so overmatched, right? And we tried everything that we could do to kind of help them out. We gave them 2 subs instead of 1 and all kind of stuff. And what really led me up to that was these guys tried to break out a 1-2 zone in 3-on-3 basketball. I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna lie. This is not gonna work. There's no way you can play. I'm against zone. Honestly, I'm against teaching zone
to the youth.
To any kid under 9th grade.
Oh, I hate it. I especially.
I don't play zone. So I hate it about me. I coach junior high and then I coach freshman, sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
My freshman, sophomore defensive strategy is totally different from my junior high. Junior high is all man to man and help defense, right? My high school is we like to throw different looks. so the other team won't get comfortable.
I do teach zone. I actually teach a really good 2-3 zone, but I teach. I think the mistake that a lot of coaches make is
I like 1-3-1, but
I think a mistake that a lot of coaches make is teaching the zone first. You know, especially in AAU, I do feel like, and especially that might have something to do with the lack of practice time. You know, like we talked about in the earlier podcast, teams don't practice. You know,
that's you're onto something.
Yeah,
with
they have the one.
It's easy and it's lazy.
Yeah, and they're trying to conserve it.
You're creating lazy defenders. I feel like.
But I will say, I think I watched Jim. See if you remember this. Jim Boeheim's 2-3 from Syracuse. I watched one of his.
He ran that 2-3 for 45 years.
I watched a 2-3, and this is the kind of basketball nerd I am. I wish I had it. I can get it right now, but I don't want to get up from the chair. But I have a Jim Boeheim DVD that I watched, and he talked about how a great zone looks just like a man-to-man. And I studied his zone.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And so, but I do think a lot of coaches teach zone, and I do think it's kind of lazy. I do think that you should start always with teaching man-to-man defense, and especially in, you know, we used shell was one of our, the shell drill is one of our staples in our practices.
Yeah,
and it's gonna run,
I love shell drill,
dude. I can run shell for an hour. I know my players don't like it, but it does teach, and I love running, you know, 4 defenders against 5 offensive players, and you know, creating that, you know, help.
Oh yeah, we did that today at practice. 3v2 versus and 2v1. Yeah,
so I like that.
That's one of my favorites.
And so,
also.
and so when you're talking about, you know, 3-on-3 specifically, I do think a lot of those matchups, because of the space and because of the pick and roll, creating the matchups, it does cause players to be more alert defensively, and also the defenders are always engaged. So like in 5-on-5, you do run the danger of the ball being on the left side, and if you're the defender on the far right side,
you're going to fall asleep.
I'm always, when I was coaching, I was always watching that player, because that player would always fall asleep or be, you know, not rotate.
And that back cut will kill them all day.
They don't rotate on the help on the player from the opposite wing drives to the basket. And on 3-on-3, you have to pay attention, because again, the amount of players on the court, you know, only 3 players.
You gotta talk. You gotta call screens. You gotta tell you got him. You got him. Like, yeah, it's definitely 3-on-3 definitely breeds defensive monsters. I even encourage guys, you know, when I'm watching 3-on-3s, you know, just me being a coach, I always even yell out there, watch the weak side. Watch the weak side. Right. It's easy to do weak side defense in 3-on-3, right? Right, because most of the time, if you're on weak side defense, that means there's only one guy on your side, and the ball's on the opposite side. So you don't really have to check. I mean, you got to check them, but you're gonna know if the ball reverses forward, right? Because nobody else knows.
This makes me want. We're gonna do it. This makes me want to do a whole defensive podcast, because I have so many things in my head.
We'll do it.
We might have to break this up into 2-part podcast right here, but that's okay.
We'll do it.
Okay, so those are the 3 things, the 3 skills, the 3 specific skills that you instantly develop when playing 3-on-3 basketball. We had 1, perfecting the pick and roll, 2, creating space, better floor balance, and 3, becoming a better team defender. Like Coach said, with the communication is again huge, and you know, helping recover defense and just playing good man-to-man defense. Also, another thing, the 3-on-3 does promote a lot of like ball movement, but it also naturally you'll see a lot of one-on-one matchups, and so it also teaches you to be a great one-on-one defender also, because you know, you do have players that, you know, like to dribble a lot, and it's just one-on-one and the players spread out.
And there's not any double teams coming in 3-on-3.
Correct. At least not the smart.
So you better know how to guard. You better know how to guard somebody one-on-one, because guess what? You don't have no help.
Correct.
And if you do, that means you got beat, and it's a layup going to be happening real soon.
So for the sake of time, I do want to move on to just quickly discuss the exciting weekend of FIBA 3x3 basketball. I know you didn't watch it. I did. Oh, did you?
I was busy this weekend, so I didn't. No, I didn't. I was busy. I'm not gonna lie. I
So
was busy this
this
weekend, man.
past
We had the whole 3-on-3 league, and then I
that's
think
right. That's
Sunday
right.
I might have
Yeah. You had your own 3-on-3 league. But this past weekend was the FIBA 3x3 World Tour, and I'm gonna try not to butcher this. World Tour Utsunomiya, Japan. That was
in Japan.
Utsunomiya,
Right.
and that was the opener where Team Miami, they were led by Jimmer Fredette, who's a familiar name. He won the MVP honors, and he had 3 game-winning shots, by the way, in that tournament. So, and we'll dive deeper into FIBA 3x3 and how the World Tour works. This was the opener, which is the first of 18 upcoming events. This is basically the opener of the 3x3 season. So, let me get some water.
Yeah. Go ahead, man. Get some water.
Yeah. All right. So
when I get off of this podcast, I'm gonna give me a little bit of something else. But right now, we're gonna do water on here.
So Team Miami was the U.S. representative, and they beat 2-time defending champion Hushan of Serbia. And man, it was such an exciting game. I did post highlight video for those who want to see it in our Facebook group, the 3-on-3 Hoops Tribe. So that's on Facebook. So make sure if you're on Facebook, go ahead and become a part of the 3-on-3 Hoops Tribe. I'll also post a full game. But some Big 3 news also I wanted to get to really quick. Coach, I'm gonna play this quick sound. This is like 40 seconds. And
handle it.
Give me your thoughts on this. This is an update on. We're talking Big 3, so of course we're talking Caitlin Clark.
Somebody that doesn't play in the Big 3.
So as you know, the offer that was made to her. Actually, I found out the offer was bigger than what we originally.
I did too.
Yeah, it was like.
I did too. It was a lot of
15.
It was a lot of what do they call it? Fine print.
Yeah, it was like 15
there was some
million.
stuff in the fine print that we didn't know.
And then I
like
can't remember the rapper. It's killing me that I don't remember. But someone said they'll match Ice Cube's offer if they play in the Bill 3. I can't remember who it was. I'll have to post that in our group as well. But here's the clip. So listen to this.
Clark was slated to make at least $15 million if she had agreed to suit up for Ice Cube's Big 3. The deal came with a $10 million salary over 2 years, a percentage of team ownership, half of merch revenue, and a stake in Big 3 with a 7-figure advance totaling a minimum of $15 million. Now, if we compare that to Caitlin Clark's salary in the WNBA, like our last video, if you guys haven't seen that one, make sure that you check it out because I break down her salary and why she's getting paid what she's getting paid in the WNBA. But her salary in the WNBA, she's not even making 6 figures a year, playing in nearly 40 games, whereas the Big 3 is only a 10-game season. The Big 3 also stated that she could continue her WNBA career while playing in the Big 3. For clarity, you guys, the Big 3 is...
So, basically...
I don't know why she didn't take it.
That's a lot of money, man.
If you could still play WNBA too, that's the deciding factor right there. Oh, I can still do that too.
That clip, just to give her credit, that was from Rachel Demita. She has her own podcast. What's the name of this podcast?
Hey, Rachel Demita.
Rachel Demita is I guess she was a former player at OU. She's
never heard of her, but I'll go look her up after this.
A lot of NBA 2K fans will know her. She was like the face of 2K for a little, like doing a lot of their promotions.
Right.
But yeah, she has her own show, and but basically she talked about how she declined that, and that that's a lot of money. But basically she went into, and I kind of agree with her that she's the biggest star right now in basketball. I think I do think she's having a Steph Curry effect on a lot of young players, and I'm looking forward to watching the WNBA. I'm watching NBA. I'm watching Indiana Fever, practice highlights for goodness sake. So.
She got you, man. She got me. She definitely got you.
Yeah,
she got you, man.
That is a lot of money.
I'll probably watch the All-Star game since it's in Phoenix.
Rachel Demita also reported that that deal is actually more. When you do the math, it adds to more than the Nike deal that she got. That was $28 million.
Yeah.
When you factor in the years, so that's crazy money that Caitlin Clark is turning out. But maybe she might decide later down the line. They actually brought up something that you brought up. Like maybe they should have their own women's big three. That would be
the girl version. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be fun to watch. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
They should, man. They should.
Speaking of the big three, just they are coming here to Tampa June 22nd. Their season starts June 15th. I can't remember the city, but they will be here in Tampa June 22nd, which I'll be attending. So again, we're going to start a movement to get Ice Cube on the podcast. I'm gonna be.
Maybe you got to get a shirt made that day and try to get on camera.
Yeah. So we'll definitely try to do that. All right. So real quick, last thing, I just want to get your thoughts on NBA playoffs going on. We do have like a lot of basketball fans listening, so I wanted to get your thoughts on the Lakers' exit the other night.
Yeah. Lakers are out of the playoffs, so it's baseball season for me.
You know what? So
that's my expert analysis right there.
I feel you because I was ready to wear a Phillies hat. I was ready to wear a Phillies hat earlier today. Or before.
Well, I want 76ers to stay in as long as possible so you can keep that hat off.
Was a crazy game that I just watched, and that's why I'm such in a good mood. I love Tyrese Maxey. I love Joel Embiid, even though he didn't have the best game.
I do too.
I just wanted to say that on the air.
How you have the best game? We had a triple-double.
No, he actually had a quadruple-double. But
what? I didn't see the fourth stat. What did he do?
10 turnovers.
Blocks?
10 turnovers.
10 turnovers? Oh, yeah. Okay. No wonder I didn't see the fourth stat.
All right. So, I know I did like the, I usually end this on, Coach J's quote for a week, but we're going to change it up. I want to do something different because I did like the advice that you and your wife, Coach D, gave on our last podcast. But we're going to change it up a little bit, and we're going to do Coach J's weekly advice. So what I want you to do is just whatever piece of advice. It doesn't even have to be basketball related. It could be something that you're going through or it could be someone specific. It could be general audience. But who is your advice for, and what is your advice?
This advice is just for anybody out there, and if it applies to you, if it's applicable to your life, don't let anybody else dictate your mood or attitude, right? If you know what you want to do, if you know what you set out to do, go out and do it. Don't let any hater or any detractors or anybody say anything to throw you off. So, that's my advice for today.
Love that, and we are going to stick to ending the podcast on your advice. I do love that. So again,
for sure.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode. We do have something special on our next podcast for you guys, so make sure you tune in. And Coach J, thanks again for joining me. We are out.
Outro.